Inside Huntsville with Brenda Martin, a conversation with department heads at City Hall on streets, ball fields, public safety, and more. And also with our community partners that add economic security, support education, and enhance the city's quality of life.
Hello, I'm Brenda Martin with Inside Huntsville. The purpose of our show is to share with you, our viewing public, a close-up look into the city departments. Today, I have the privilege to spend some time with our Emergency Management Agency Director, Mr. Jeffrey Birdwell. Jeffrey, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks for being here with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my original background comes from the fire service. I started my career out in the City of Madison Fire Department, worked there for 29 years, with the last 14 being as Deputy Chief, and more importantly, probably the last 8 years, very, very involved in the emergency management piece of that.
Okay.
Was very, very active at the state level from the Alabama Mutual Aid System. Kind of the purpose of that was looking at it statewide if a large event happened, developing resources that might be needed, and also participating in some deployments to hurricanes and picking up valuable experience from that. Thus, kind of the emergency management piece now, and was very fortunate to be appointed Emergency Management Director last March.
Last March, okay. Yeah. Coming up on a year.
Absolutely.
Okay, how's it been?
It's been good, been very good. Of course, a lot of the relationships, because I'm from here, were already there, so it was meeting people for several times, but also meeting new people, so it's been very good.
It's been good.
Yeah.
EMA is a city and county agency. Explain that, if you would. How does that work?
Well, from a responsibility standpoint, we are responsible for providing emergency management services for the whole county.
Okay.
But that also includes any entities or governments inside Madison County, the incorporated areas such as City of Huntsville, City of Madison, Triana, New Hope, those places, but also providing those services in the unincorporated areas as well. Mm-hmm. Kind of where we get our niche as a city agency as well is actually our budget is administered by the City of Huntsville.
Okay, does the county supply any funds?
Yes. Right now, kind of the way it is, the three entities being the City of Huntsville, Madison County, and the City of Madison contribute to our budget funding.
Okay, that's great. So let's talk about emergency situations, if you will. How should the community ensure that they receive critical public information?
Well, I think the key there is having multiple ways to do that. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, we live in a good age of technology now, so there are several avenues. There's NOAA weather radio during severe weather. We encourage people to have radios that have backup with battery backup.
With batteries, I see.
TV, and then we're in the age of apps. There's various apps that you can a lot of times get for free.
Okay.
That can provide critical public information during emergencies. Mm-hmm. And we encourage, if nothing else, having as many of those avenues as you possibly can have. Mm-hmm.
What exactly goes on behind the scenes, if you will, at EMA in preparation for emergencies?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of things that happen. One of the big pieces is the planning piece. Mm-hmm. We have numerous and various plans on different things. Two of the main ones are our countywide emergency operation plan and our mitigation plan. Probably one of the more important ones is the emergency operation plan. It kind of sets the stage for various threats that we may encounter, tornadoes, flooding, things like that. And it also lays the groundwork for what could possibly happen or what could we possibly need during these types of situations. And then more importantly, it assigns those particular functions already to organizations that exist in the county. So it's very easy to, when you have this situation and you need this resource, this is who you're going to go to acquire that. Mm-hmm. The mitigation plan is very important from the standpoint is if you do have a disaster or something before a disaster, how can we make it better? In the case of flooding, are there structures in the flood zone that may need to be moved or raised? So it identifies those things and kind of gives us a playbook how we move forward in the future to hopefully prevent things from happening.
What are some of the main functions of EMA during an emergency?
Well, we probably have three main functions. One of them is obviously logistics. I like to refer to us as we're the Walmart.
Okay.
If there's a need that the public has, or the first responders, they need additional fire trucks, additional police officers, they come to us, and we have various means through county to county mutual aid or local resources that we can reach out to and acquire those for them. The other piece is what I like to call situational awareness. And that's important from a global perspective across the whole county. While you may have the local fire chief that is kind of concentrated on what's happening in his jurisdiction, if it's happening in multiple jurisdictions, we like to be able to provide that picture that says, here's everything that's happening in the county. And then the last piece is event coordination. Not talking about being in charge of the tactical operations, but being able to put all the pieces together and say, here's what we're going to do in the future, or here's the priorities that we need to focus on in the future.
One of the things I'm sure you're always in a planning mode,
Yes.
huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes. Again, we have plans for a lot of different things, and what you find out is that you develop those plans, and then you have to exercise the plan.
Sure.
And that's when we bring a lot of the first responders and the nonprofits and the volunteers in, and we say, okay, here's what the plan is, here's the scenario, and in the end, you find out what works and what doesn't work.
We talked earlier before we came on that you're going to be having a meeting pretty soon.
Yes, ma'am. 1st of March, we have a severe weather exercise that we'll be doing with all the first responders. And we like to do that from time to time. Severe weather season's coming up, so we want to kind of go through some scenarios, just if nothing else, put the possibilities in everybody's mind.
It's an update, if you will, of information that is new information or what?
New information, yes, but also reviewing a lot of the old stuff as well. This is not a lot of people's first rodeo, so to speak. So, it's just bringing those situations back that might have occurred before, maybe providing a different scenario and going through those critical thinking skills to determine, well, does what we did in the past work, or is it going to take something totally new that we haven't thought of?
Okay. Well, what should the public do when severe weather is approaching?
Well, the first thing is, as we mentioned, the multiple avenues of getting public information. You need to be weather aware.
Weather aware, okay.
The National Weather Service obviously issues different types of warnings. One of the first important keys is when they issue a tornado watch. And that's important because that's kind of a decision point to where, are you going to go somewhere to shelter, or are you going to decide in the end to shelter in place? The key there is a tornado warning is not the time to go and seek out shelter somewhere outside of your home. So the first thing is the tornado warning, the tornado watch. Making sure that if you're going to go somewhere, that's the time to go. If not, are you going to shelter in place? A lot of times people choose to do that in their home. Make sure you have a plan of not only what you're going to do, but where you're going to go. And usually that's somewhere in the center of the house. Basement is ideal, or obviously a approved storm shelter is ideal. But if you don't have one of those, somewhere in the center of the house, no windows, possibly a closet.
A closet?
Yeah, and have that plan in place and know what you're going to do beforehand.
For some of our viewers, they may not know the difference between a watch and a warning. What's a watch?
Well, what a watch is conditions are right for a tornado to develop. And a lot of times that's even more complicated to the fact you may have a tornado watch and a severe thunderstorm warning issued all at the same time. So that's critical as well. But a tornado warning is actually, radar has actually indicated a tornado, or a storm spotter has actually seen one. So one is the conditions are right for it. The other one is you actually have one occurring.
Okay, yeah, that's important for our folks to know, What are some of the future challenges of EMA? I'm sure you have a few.
Yeah, I do. It's not a new one, but the first one that comes to mind is apathy. You know, a lot of times when things don't happen that often, and fortunately, you know, large events or disasters don't, you know, we kind of take the attitude, well, it always happens to somebody else.
Not me.
Yeah. So, you know, it's important to understand that it can happen to you and that you need to be prepared for that. At least what I see in the future, you know, what we're going to be challenged with, especially with the baby boomer generation, you know, retiring and becoming older.
Yes.
You know, one of the more vulnerable populations when something bad happens is the elderly, those with disabilities. And, you know, those kind of tie in together. So, you know, how are we going to move forward on that? Because they have different needs than maybe somebody else. So how are we going to plan for that? And that's going to probably become the norm more than the exception. Another challenge is communications with the public, both emergent and non-emergent. You know, I can still remember a day when if you wanted to contact the public, you did it one of two ways. You either put it in the newspaper or you put it on TV.
Yes.
That's changed significantly now.
Yes.
You got social media and all these other different medias, so trying to stay on top of that and you know, being organized where you can efficiently put that out in a timely manner. And I think last but not least is you know, the diversity of our community. As we become more diverse, you know, different populations require different things. You know, as
what do you mean by that?
Well, a perfect example is the non-English speaking population. You know, we have to have an avenue of communicating information, not only the preparedness side, but also on the emergency side.
Sure.
And so, you know, having challenge with that, hoping to be forward-thinking and come up with ways to handle the diverse population that we have now.
So how are you going about that?
Well, we're looking at education from a standpoint, at least on our staff, you know, not being able to speak a full language, but have key terms that we can communicate. Plus, finding those resources in our local community that if we do have a particular group that speaks a certain language, we may not be able to understand or speak that ourselves, but can we reach out to a resource in the community that can and be an interpreter for us?
That's great. That's great. Well, my producer is telling me to wind it up. I'm going to have you on again soon. There's so much important information that you have for us. But tell us, before you go, what is something that about EMA that might surprise most people?
Yeah. Well, I think probably the thing that comes to mind most is the fact that most of the time when you see a lot of the first responders, the response is kind of ended. You know, our job really just begins because there's this whole different phase of emergency management called recovery, to where we try to put people back to their normal lives. And a lot of times that can take a long time. You take the 2011 tornadoes, they were still wrapping up a lot of the public assistance as late as 2015.
Oh my.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of long-term there.
Long-term.
Well, we want to thank you for all that you do for our community, and welcome aboard, so to speak. And again, thanks so much for sharing this vital information with us. Let's share your contact information just in case folks want to be in contact with you.
Well, obviously our business line is area code 256-427-5130. But we also encourage people to visit our website, and you can reach that at MadisonCountyEMA.com.
It's been a pleasure to have you, and we appreciate you being here today. My guest today has been the Director of the Emergency Management Agency for the City and County, Jeffrey Birdwell. And thank you for welcoming me into your homes with another episode of Inside Huntsville. I'm Brenda Martin. Enjoy your day.